you've seen him on The Crawl Show on Comedy Central, and he is also a regular on Sirius XM Radio. Please welcome comedian Jeffrey Gurian.
Dorothy Bishop, everybody. Keep it going for Dorothy. Wow, what an amazing show. Well, you can probably tell just by looking at me, I fit in wherever I go. It's amazing. I just kind of blend into every crowd, especially a young, hip crowd like this one. Well, this really happened to me. Listen to what happened to me. I went into a store recently, and I bought something with my credit card, and I give the woman my credit card, and she takes it, she looks right at me, right in my face, and she says to me, "Thank you, ma'am." And I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified. So I turned around, hoping that there was a woman behind me, but there wasn't. Now, truth be told, this has happened to me before, but only from the back. Because from the back, I'm pretty sure I look like a lesbian. So I did the only thing I could think of. I looked her in the eye and I said, "You're welcome, sir." Then I curtsied like the proper lady that I am, and I got the heck out of the store. But it's confusing, right? A lot of things confuse me. Like, don't you hate it when you wake up in the morning and you're really in the mood to vote and there's no election? What do you do in a case like that, right? How do you take away that urge to cast a ballot? And you know that night when you're supposed to turn your clocks ahead an hour at 2 a.m.? What are you supposed to meet somebody at 2 a.m.? What time do you show up? At 1:59, you're still a minute early. 1 minute later, you're an hour late. You can't do it. It's not possible to do it. You know what else is confusing? You never see an infant that looks familiar to you. You never hear anybody say, "You see that infant over there? I could swear I know him from somewhere." Where is it? The office? The gym? A club, maybe? No, it's probably not a club, because a lot of clubs are very restrictive about letting an infant. And I know, because I had a friend who was an infant, and we went out, there were a lot of clubs that wouldn't let him in. Personally, I think it was the hat. It was red and tied under his chin. I told him not to wear it, and he said, "Stop treating me like an infant." A lot of things confuse me. I went into a store the other day, I saw a sign that said, "Occasional furniture." I'm like, what is it when it's not furniture? Like, most of the time it's a sweater, but every once in a while it turns into a desk. Nice sweater, but why is it made out of wood? And why does it have drawers? But I'll tell you the thing that confuses me the most is that people don't seem to care about certain parts of their body. And it's true. For some reason, people don't seem to care about their arms. That would explain the bulletproof vest. Gotta think about that one. Because if I was a cop, I'd be like, "Don't you have something with sleeves? Bulletproof pants, maybe? A hat? I don't know. I've never been shot, but I don't think there's any part of the body that takes a bullet particularly well. Could just be me. These days, even donations are confusing. You know, at this time of the year, you get a lot of requests in the mail for donations, right? I got a request recently for a donation for a charity for needy children. I'm like, needy children? Of course, how could you not donate to needy children? So I wrote out a check, and I'm putting it in the envelope, and just before I seal the envelope, I see that there's a box they want you to check, and it says, "Yes, I want to improve the lives of needy children." And I thought to myself, thank God I saw that box. Can you imagine the confusion it would have caused if I had just sent in a check? God guy opens the envelope, he says, gee, this guy sent in a check, but he didn't say what it was for. You think he wants to improve the lives of needy children? I don't know, are there really two sides to that story? If there are, maybe there should be a second box that says, hey, I'm a dick. Here's $100, screw up the lives of needy children. I don't know. Anyway, it feels great to be back on stage again because I had gone back to my original job for a while, writing suicide notes for depressed people with writer's block. And then lately when I get bored, and you should try this because it's really a lot of fun, I get bored, I go into Chinese restaurants, I ask for the manager, and I complain that my fortune didn't come true. And that goes over really big. Not as well as it did with you people. Only less enthusiastic. Now, as people, we come from all over the world. People come from every place. There's been people here today from all kinds of places. But as people, we share similar things in common. And it's true, as people, we tend to exaggerate. Now think about it. How many times have you gotten that call from a friend who tells you he was almost killed, but he wasn't even hurt? You hear it all the time. Right? Almost killed. He has the nerve to say he was almost killed, doesn't have a scratch on him. And they all have some weird story, and it all ends the same way. And one more inch, and I would have been killed. I'm like, what are you exaggerating for? If you're going to tell people you're almost killed, at least have the decency to be severely injured. Or else it diminishes the severity of the story, right? It's like saying, I almost had sex with this chick last night. Really? How far'd you get? Well, I called her and she wasn't home. But if she had been home, I would have totally nailed her. Which is a very romantic expression, used mostly around Valentine's Day. I would have nailed her. And it had to be created by a guy. And I'll tell you how I know that it had to be created by a guy, because only a guy would be messed up enough to compare the act of having sex with a woman to hammering a nail into a piece of wood. You will never hear two women use that expression. You'll never hear one girl say to another, how was your date last night? Great. Did he nail you? You will never hear that, and if you do hear that, change who you're hanging out with, because it's a bad crowd. So, people often say that chivalry is dead, right? And by people, I basically mean women. Because you will never hear a guy say that chivalry is dead, right? I mean, what would be the point? Now, chivalry was very big in like the 1600s. It seemed to have something to do with men throwing their coat in the mud for a woman to step on. Like, who came up with that bright idea? Dry cleaners? So how would that even work? Well, were coats made of wood in those days? You throw your coat in the mud, it magically turns into a ramp? This chick just glides over the puddle? I mean, coats must have been very plentiful in those days. Picture this scenario, right? It's the 1600s, you're walking with this chick, starts to rain, you come up against the puddle, next thing you know she's looking at you, next thing you know she's looking at your coat. Look, I just got this coat. It's a brand new coat. It's the 1600s, we're poor as shit. You want me to throw this coat in the mud? I got a better idea. Why don't I keep the coat and you walk around the freaking puddle? You selfish bitch. I gotta throw a perfectly good coat in the mud to show some chick I'm polite? Throwing your coat in the mud doesn't mean you're polite. It means you're a freaking moron that has no respect for his clothing. But what if you do throw it in the mud? Then what do? You just leave it there? Play it off like you don't care? Oh, that old coat? I got millions of coats. Coats mean nothing to me. Yeah, what if you were dating a few girls and it was a bad winter? Where are you supposed to get all those coats? What if you're dating a girl, she knows you have a clean coat, You show up at a house one night and your coat's filthy. She's like, you bastard, have you been cheating on me? Because no guy throws his coat in the mud for another guy. Unless you're gay. And nobody was gay in those days. That didn't kick in until recently. You guys have been wonderful. I'm going to leave you on this. Is that the light, by the way? Is that the light, or do I have a minute? I want to just express my gratitude for being here, because about 10 days ago I had a heart attack. And that's not the joke, that's serious. I had a heart attack. They actually classified it as a massive heart attack. Not the regular kind that most people try to have. Mine was massive. And it happened in the street. And I went and I stopped a cop. And I stopped a police van, and I knocked on the window and I said, I think I'm having a heart attack. And the cop said, well, I think you should go to the hospital. And I said, funny you should say that. I had the exact same thought. And it didn't escape me that you're wearing a uniform and that you're in a police van. I said, I'm not just stopping everyone, I'm telling you for a reason. And he said, we're stuck in traffic, I think you'll be faster if you walk there. So I said, well, where's the nearest hospital? And he said he didn't know. So he took out his iPhone and tried to find the hospital, and he couldn't find it. He says to me, do you have Google Maps? I said no. He said, you should download Google Maps. That was when I walked away. I said, you know what? He says, should we call an ambulance for you? I said, no, I'll be okay. And I got another half a block. I stopped another cop. He wasn't too concerned either. He said, stand over here. A couple of minutes later, I said, are they coming soon? He said, I didn't call them yet. He had other things to do. Anyway, they finally got me to the hospital. They couldn't get me in because the door wouldn't open. They put a stent in, and I'm here. So, Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you very much.